say it wrong if I ain't careful. I want to say Gargamel, and that ain't his. It's Gamamil. But you can tell I was raised during the era of Smurfs. But it's Gamamil. Now Gamamil was the prize teacher of his day. He was the smartest guy, and anybody that was mentored under him was just sought after. People were sought after. So Saul would have been a man that many would have respected. They would have listened to. He would have been a man of influence. And here we have him on the road to Damascus. But to get us started tonight, I want to ask you a question. How many of y'all have ever heard somebody say, God told me to do this or that? I have. I've had a lot of folks tell me that over the years. I've had it happen to me. Now I have had people look at me and go, you could tell when you was telling them about a story that maybe have happened to you, and you felt like God was speaking to you, or you heard God's voice talk to you. I have had people look at me like I was crazy when I told them that. But the reality is, and I can tell y'all, I've told y'all before, when we were visiting churches, Jennifer and I had been praying, God send me where I'm supposed to be. We had went all over the place. We had been to a bunch of different churches. We had actually come to Collar Valley a couple of years prior. And just at that particular time, it didn't fit. And we had been going all over the place, but I'll never forget it. We were running late that day. And I told Jennifer, I said, we need to go to church somewhere. I said, let's just run over to Collar Valley. And she said, and her words was, are you sure? She said, last time we went, we just didn't really enjoy it that much. I said, yeah. I said, we can get there on time. And we were running so late. Now, we live a whopping 3 miles from here. So we was running so late, everybody was inside when we got here that morning. And I remember opening the door, and nobody was on the porch. Everybody was inside. And when I opened the door and I stepped over the threshold, Jennifer and them had went in front of me. And when I put my foot on the carpet, I heard in my head. And it was just as plain as if somebody was speaking to me out loud. I heard, you're home. And I thought, that's really strange. Well, when we got on in and we went through service, that just resonated with me the whole time. And when we got back in the car, I'm one of them people that I ought not to, and I hate to admit I'm this way, but I remember saying, good Lord, if that's really you talking to me, show me something, tell me something. When we got in the car, Jennifer looked at me and she said, you know what, that felt totally different than it did last time. I said, yeah, it did. And she said, do you want to come tonight? Well, then I knew something was different because we hadn't been to church on Sunday night in a long time. So I said, sure. So, but I heard God's voice that particular day, and it was plain. It was no mistaking it. I knew that it was God speaking to me that day. And I've had that happen in my life a handful of times where it was that obvious. Now, with that said, I know